Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Shoshana here to talk about a friggin' book. The book, you know, is Bad Romance by Heather Demetrios. I did talk about this in a recent wrap-up. I don't know if that will be up before this individual review is up, probably. But yeah, this book talks about a topic that is, I don't want to say near and dear to my heart because it makes it sound like it's a positive thing, but talks about a topic that affects me or affected me, and I just think it's something that not necessarily, it kind of needs to be talked about more. And it's almost like I'm constantly trying to explain what it's like. It's very difficult to explain. And anyways, the topic is emotional and mental and verbal abuse in a relationship. And this is young adult, contemporary romance. Not a good romance, obviously. A bad romance. And we follow Grace, who is a junior in high school, and she has a very, very toxic, abusive home life as well. And Grace develops a relationship with a boy, Gavin. And this book is her talking to Gavin. So it's in second person point of view of her saying you, but you know as the reader that she's talking to Gavin. She says so. That she's basically telling him how this came about for her and what the situation was like on her end. Content warnings for suicide attempt, suicide used as a threat in a relationship. Obviously, like I said, emotional, mental, verbal abuse in the form of extreme possessiveness, being controlling, monitoring interactions with others, monitoring conversations with others, stalking at some point. There is also a bit of with her family, there's a bit of physical abuse, and with Gavin, there is a bit of physical intimidation as a tactic, and then some sexual abuse as well. So if you have a family like this, or have been in a relationship like this, definitely tread carefully, tread lightly. I'm not a super sensitive person, but I have found that when it comes to emotional and mental and verbal abuse in relationships, I do have a few things that kind of can trigger me a little bit. Things I'll see that make me almost immediately start crying a lot and feel really panicky, but only for a minute or two, and it's only happened 2 or 3 times. And reading this book I thought might be kind of like that. I would say it borderline was, but again, I'm not a super sensitive person emotionally, so if you are more sensitive than I am, which is not hard because most people are, be careful if you want to read this. But yeah, I found a lot of the moments to be very relatable and upsetting. Obviously, there were quite a few times where I was reading it and I just felt myself getting emotional. I'm probably going to get a little emotional talking about it in this video, so apologies if that happens. And this book focused heavily on the lead up to the relationship, kind of focusing, like I said, on her family, why she was so quick to get that deeply involved with Gavin, why she was so quick to fall that head over heels for this boy who charmed her. But yeah, it was about 50% of the way, 40 to 50% of the way through the book before they actually were together and in a relationship. And yeah, I said in the recent wrap-up that I thought that the subtleties of this kind of abuse were explored well, the nuances were explored well and explained pretty well. Because that's the thing, like I said, I find it hard to explain it to people. If you haven't experienced emotional and mental abuse, it's hard to really get it. You can say, oh yeah, no, it sounds terrible, but it's hard to explain what a mind fuck it really is. And I've had people in my life, friends and people I know, I'm talking about different things or different situations that I went through with this ex, saying things like, oh, I would have left a long time ago, or, oh, when that happened, I would have dumped him right then and there. Or I would never get into a situation like that because I'm so good at seeing the red flags, because I'm so good at recognizing it for what it is, and I would leave because I'm strong enough to leave. And I know certain people who are like friends of mine. I know they don't mean this the way that it feels and the way that it comes across, but at the same time, I think they do. I think people do internally kind of think, oh no, like, yeah, anybody could get in that situation. But I think they really do think, but I wouldn't. I would never. Like, I would never. I didn't think I would. I'm a very independent, strong-willed, strong personality, feisty. I do not back down, especially if men are trying to intimidate me or physically intimidate me, or, I'm not someone who's just yelling. Like, I don't like arguing in relationships. I don't enjoy fighting in relationships. Who does, right? But if someone is coming at me with aggression or yelling at me or raising their voice at me, I don't back down. I push back, right? I've always been like that. And I always said, if anyone ever put their hands on me or whatever, I'm out. I'm done. That's it. My mom instilled that in me, and I was always like, yeah, exactly. And then it happened, and I stayed. And that was part of the emotional and mental abuse, though, is like in my situation when hands were put on me. It was probably 2 years into the relationship at that point. I was with this person for like 5.5 years. And it was about like 2.5 years into the relationship before they did that and put their hands on me one time. And when they did, it was just for a second. It was hands around my throat, just for a second, like not that long. And immediately, as soon as I felt that, I flipped out and get the fuck off of me and like pushed and like ran away. And then cried for like 3 fucking hours. So I didn't get hurt, right? And that was the narrative. You didn't get hurt. I would never hurt you. I didn't actually do anything. I didn't actually hurt you. There were no marks left on you. You weren't injured. It was only 2 seconds. I never would actually hurt you. And I got convinced that that was true and that it wasn't that big of a deal. I basically got convinced that it wasn't that serious and that I was being dramatic by contemplating leaving at that point. I was being weak. That was another thing in my situation that was used against me. I pride myself on being an emotionally strong person, and he knew this about me, and he would use that. If I was thinking of leaving because you put your hands on me, I was weak. I was being weak. I was running away. Relationships take work. We need to build a solid foundation if we're going to spend the rest of our lives together. This whole like ride or die mentality, which I fucking hate. It was used against me a lot. And again, it's just so hard to explain to people because I think if you know me, you would think, how the hell would you get into a situation like this, you know? And that's the thing too, is like in this book, it was a little different because she got convinced that she didn't deserve him and that he was so great and that she wasn't good at loving someone. He was making her feel worthless, right? And in my situation, that wasn't the case. And I think the only reason it wasn't the case is because I don't think it was that he didn't try to make me feel that way. It was that he never convinced me of that. He never convinced me that I wasn't good at being in a relationship, that I was a bad girlfriend, that I didn't know how to love, that I was worthless. Never. So throughout the whole thing, it's like I knew that it was bad. It wasn't that I didn't see the red flags. It was that I saw the red flags, I called the red flags out, got into arguments with him about the red flags and why they were red flags and why this was a problem and should we really be together? And I was convinced that they weren't that bad. I got convinced and manipulated into believing that they weren't that bad, that relationships take work, and he would do the flip-floppy thing, which abusers do. You know, the physical abuser who will beat the crap out of their partner and then, I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again. Oh my God, I'm the worst. I don't deserve you. Dramatics of the apology, the doting on you afterward, the declarations of what will change moving forward, and you are kept on this leash. You are kept on, it's like, you know, the little cartoon where you're having an animal follow you by dragging a carrot in front of them, right? You have this carrot dangling in front of you of things will get better. Oh, we'll change this. We'll do this. The only reason I'm acting this way is because of this external thing. It'll change in a month when that changes. Don't worry. And yeah, you're just kept dragging along, chasing this carrot, chasing this potential, chasing these glimpses you get of this amazing love, of this passionate, devoted, doting, adoring person. You see that, and then they just fucking tease you with it for however long. For me, for a few years. And you feel like you can't leave. And like I said, it's like you're tangled up with them. You are two balls of yarn, messy balls of yarn, just all wrapped up in each other. And so when people say, oh, just leave. Yeah, that's way easier said than done when you are in a situation like this. When your life is so wrapped up in this person and their life is so wrapped up in you. And there's just, it's a mind fuck. There's a part where she said, where is it? Let me see. Yeah, this part. I read this quote. I don't know if I left it. My recent wrap-up was very long, so I'm sure I cut a lot out. But this is towards the end where she knows she needs to leave, but like she can't do it. And she says, "You're a maze, all high hedges and endless loops. I can't find a way out, can't see where I've been. It's all running, lost in the dark of you. Trapped. Everywhere I turn is a dead end. I keep winding up back where I've started." And that's exactly how it feels. And then this part, where is it? Right at the very end, she does do it. By the end of the book, she does leave. But as she's trying to get the words out, she says, "I open my mouth, but the words won't come. Despite everything, I don't want to break your heart. I wish I wanted to. It would be so much easier to cut you down with a smile on my face." And yeah, you get, and not from ego. None of this is because you think you're that special. But this person gets you convinced that without you, their life will be in disarray. You feel so deeply entrenched in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, that without you, their life is going in a downward spiral. It's like you see the cracks and you see their mental instability. You see their emotional instability. And in my situation, towards the end, it was just escalating and escalating and escalating. And he was in a spiral already. And it was very much, if you leave, I don't know where I'll be. I don't know what'll happen to me. I need you. He'd flip-flop between telling me, "You're so strong," praising me for being so strong. "You're such a strong woman. Other women would have left me a long time ago. I shouldn't put you through this. I don't know why I do. I have issues. I need to figure this out. I need to go get help. I need to talk to someone. You're right. Like, I have to fix this because you deserve so much better." And then 2 days later, "Nothing's wrong with me. You're just trying to make me feel crazy, and you're weak for wanting to leave me. You're just trying to convince me that something is wrong, and nothing's wrong with me. You're just a fucking liar and a whore." And like, the flip-flopping, it just takes such a fucking toll on you, but you really feel like you can't just leave. You really feel I just don't know how to describe it other than you're so fucking entangled. And you can't, it's not as easy as just, bye. It's not. And even when I did leave, it wasn't that easy. And I want to preface this too, because I think a lot of times people see situations like mine where there was physical abuse, but not like people normally see. That wasn't the most prevalent thing. Put his hands on me a couple times. When the breakup happened, it was very physical, and marks were left on my body for sure, but it wasn't like I was being hit or anything like that. And it was paranoia. It was a lot of paranoia. It was a lot of seeing conspiracies behind everything, thinking me and all of his friends were conspiring behind his back to screw him over. I was sleeping with all of his friends at some point, literally, and he would be pacing angrily, frantically pacing in the bedroom, going, why are you all doing this to me? Why are you all doing this to me? I just don't understand. What did I do to you? And I'm like, bro, nobody did anything. Like, and I think people hear this and just, you think, why would someone act like that? You obviously did something. Like, someone wouldn't just act like that for no reason. You had to have done something. And when I tell you I did nothing as far as what he thought I did, I'm not saying I was perfect in the relationship, but I was so fucking faithful. In my younger years, I've talked about this before. In my younger years, I was an annoying ass attention-seeking chick that was just like, everybody love me and give me attention, please. And I definitely flirted when I had boyfriends, and I had cheated. And then when I was 22 years old, I took my ass to therapy because I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I clearly have some issues happening. And I did, and I went to therapy, and I got them worked out. Ever since then, since I was 22 years old, so for 12 years, I have been the pillar of faithfulness. When I'm in a relationship now, when I'm single, I do what I want. But when I'm in a relationship, when I take that step with someone and I'm committed and we are monogamous together, I'm not even tempted. Like, I'm really not. Because I no longer have that need for validation from other people. I get my validation from myself, and I don't even need it from my significant other. Like, I love myself. I'm cool with myself. I know I'm awesome. I don't need other people to tell me that. I mean, I like other people to tell me that. My significant other. Words of affirmation are my thing. But you know what I mean? I don't seek it out. I'm not tempted to get attention from other men. If men give me attention like that, I don't want it. I'll be cordial and nice if someone's like, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm good, thank you. But the minute I feel that energy of you're trying to hit on me or you ask me for my number or whatever, it's, I have a boyfriend, sorry. Oh, I don't see him around. Cool. I don't care if he's not around. I don't want to give you any time. And like, his friends would tell him this. Because, you know, I was in this stage of my life, I was out a lot, I was at the clubs a lot, and I'd be with my girlfriends, and like his friends were out all the time too, and there were times where they would like see me and I didn't know they were there, and they would tell him, like, she's so like, she doesn't talk to dudes. Like, people will come up to her and she is a straight up bitch sometimes. And he would again flip-flop between being so like proud of that and like, yeah, my girl's awesome, blah blah blah. And then towards the end, he didn't believe it. He thought I was sleeping with everyone. I couldn't stand in line for food at a concert and just be looking around a crowd without him thinking I was looking for someone. Oh, did you schedule a meetup with one of your guys, one of your boyfriends? It was always one of your boyfriends, you got one of your boyfriends coming? And I'm pretty sure there was some guilty conscience involved in this because he told the girl he dated after me, he confirmed, and I already suspected that he had cheated on me, and I'm pretty sure he was cheating on me the whole time we were together. Because looking back, there were signs like 6 months in, shady shit going on like 6 months in. And so I think it was a lot of guilty conscience paired with some mental health struggles. And yeah, it was just maddening. I lost my train of thought with where I started with that whole thing, but yeah, you care so much about this person and you are manipulated into caring about them more than you care about yourself. And that's what she described there at the end, like not wanting to hurt them. Like, I don't want to hurt you. I wish I did. I wish I just felt like, fuck the fuck off, get out of my face. But you don't. And this, towards the end too, it was escalating, and she's talking about, she says, it's like a tense, it's like this tense situation where she can just feel the malice coming from him. And she says, your eyes are two narrow slits, and I don't know what that means, only that I have to tame you somehow. And that's a very real thing that I experienced also. Later she says, suddenly I am hyper aware of the fact that I'm alone in an apartment with a boy much stronger than me, a boy who looks like he wants to hurt me. And in my situation towards the end, because like I said, I'm a very feisty person, but it was escalating to the point where I would just, when I saw that happening, when I felt that energy and I could see that look on his face, And I tried to explain it to him too. Like, yeah, you might not have hurt me those times that you put your hands on me. You might have let go immediately, or you might have gotten off of me immediately. But if you really snap, I can't stop you. You're like 6'3", whatever, a grown-ass man. I'm 5'1". The heaviest I've ever been is 130 pounds. Like, you could so quickly overpower me and hurt me. And yeah, I got to the point where I wouldn't push back, because then that was another manipulation or tactic he would use, is getting into these big fights. If I didn't back down entirely, the narrative later would be that I pushed his buttons and I knew how to push his buttons. And why do you do this? Why do you push my buttons? You know how I am. You know how I feel. And like, it's not helpful when you do that. So then I would just start shutting down. If I saw this happening, he could be, there were the day that it did end, for like 30 minutes in the car, calling me every name in the book. I'm a whore, a slut, a stupid skank. I can't even tell you how many times he called me a slut in that conversation, that one conversation. And I just sat there crying. I didn't say one fucking word. I just sat there, looked straight ahead, and cried. And then was like, yeah, this has to end. And then while I was packing stuff up, at one point got me cornered in the bathroom as I'm trying to pack things up. And looking back, it's like I should have just left, but he was so frantic in those moments where I literally thought he was going to break all my shit. He threw a bunch of my shit out on the curb. Like, my safe, I have a fireproof safe that has like my passport, my birth certificate, all this stuff. Trash was coming in the morning, and it's like 3 a.m, and he's throwing my shit out on the curb. Tons of it, tons of stuff throwing out there. So I was trying to load up as much stuff as I could into my car. So anyways, had me cornered in the bathroom and was just poking my head and yelling at me and calling me names and towering over me and just poke, like flinging my head back like this. And I just sat there. I stood there just like taking deep breaths and trying not to react, because I knew if I reacted, it would escalate, and then he would later say, well, you did this, well, you pushed my buttons, well, you blah, blah, blah. And I just, there's this fear. And that's part of it. Like, yeah, you might not have beat me, but you were using fear tactics. You were definitely scaring me, and you knew it. And you were using that against me. And I appreciated how it was described in the book. And this is another one I read in my recent wrap-up. And this, she's actually talking about her family and the general feeling in her home life. And later, this does turn into how she feels with Gavin. But at this point, she's not with him yet. So she's just talking about her family. And she says, look, I'm not this upset because I have to do one stupid chore or babysit my brother for a few hours after school. It's that things have gotten to the point where everything is bad all the time, so one little thing pushes me right over. Sometimes I wish I had split lips or bruises to show the school counselor. It's hard to explain the torture of living in this house, the way the constant nagging and housework and yelling grinds you down. And that made me a little emotional when I was reading it, because definitely towards the end, that's how I felt. Walking on eggshells. Absolutely walking on eggshells all the time. And I've never experienced like true anxiety. I don't have like an anxiety disorder or anything like that. And I really had never experienced anxiety in any real way, I don't think, prior to this. But I started developing it. I would be sitting at home, because we lived together, I'd be sitting at home on the couch, watching TV, reading, doing my thing, whatever. And I would hear the garage door open, and just immediately tension. Immediately my chest would get tight, and I would like have to take some deep breaths to just calm myself down and act normal. Because so many times he would come home and it would be, what are you doing? If I had my phone out when he walked in the door, and then I put my phone down because like, hi, you're home, I'm gonna talk to you. Who are you texting? Well, you just put your phone down. Why'd you put your phone down when I walked in? Or what's up? Your face looks weird. Why do you look like that? What's going on? Were you talking to somebody? Who were you talking to? Just immediately. And just this bad fucking energy. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. Like, the minute he would come in the house, it was like this dark cloud was just pushing into my chest. I couldn't relax. I could not relax. In the last 6 months, probably, I was so fucking tired. When she talks about it grinding you down, I was so ground down, just emotionally and mentally. And towards the end, my mom said something to me that, and that's the thing too, like my friends, my best friends knew a lot of what was going on. One of my friends knew more than the others just because I talked to her more. And then my mom knew a lot, most of what was going on. My mom said something, was one of the things that kind of, I think, pushed me over the edge of, yeah, this has to end. Because like I said, he had me, the ride or die mentality, right? The, you don't really love me if you're gonna leave me. And your love obviously never meant anything. You're a liar. You had me convinced that you were this person, this strong person, and you're actually weak as fuck. Like, you had me fooled. You had me so fooled. Like, this type of shit. And the narrative he had is definitely that love, true love, and marriage is, you know, the for better, for worse, right? Like, through anything, through literally anything, you need to stay with me. Otherwise, it's not love. And my mom said, a lot of people feel that way. And she goes, I think that's a problem in a lot of marriages and a lot of long-term relationships, is that mentality of, well, for better, for worse. And she said, but that worse shouldn't be your partner treating you poorly. That's not what that means. It means what life throws at the two of you, external things, financial hardships, parenting, dealing with loss, dealing with grief, losing your own parents, losing family members, difficulties in life. That's the worst. Not this person treating you like garbage. That's not what you have to put up with. That's not love. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Duh. Yeah, so I appreciated that. This I noted because this was a tactic used against me a lot. This one made me a little bit emotional. He's like, they fought, it's bad, and then he's being sweet, and the flip side of the coin is on the table, right? Yeah, she says, I thought you wanted to break up. I have no idea what's happening right now. And then he says, it would end me not being with you. And then he's being all romantic. In the silence that follows, I can feel us get closer, as though all the bits of you you've given to me and all the bits of me I've given to you are tightening their grip. And, oh, yeah. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like your heart is in a vice. Your heart is being held hostage against you. And yeah, it's just funny because you can have friends telling you, just leave. Family telling you, just leave. Your partner's family telling you, just leave. Yourself, telling yourself that you know you need to leave. And yet you can't. Like, there's a mental and emotional block where it's not that easy. And it's just, like I said, it's a mind fuck. It makes no sense. Because it's like, why would an otherwise, like myself, how I consider myself, a strong, independent, feisty, won't back down type of woman get in, and remain in a relationship like this? Why? For what reason, right? But there's a multitude of reasons. And like I explained, like, I am a very head over heels type of person in relationships. I'm fearless to my detriment, clearly. On the one hand, I love that I'm like that. I'm glad I'm not afraid. I still don't think I'm afraid. Definitely more cautious now. And I definitely have trust issues because of all the lies that I learned that were told to me. and because of this happening. But yeah, I still, I feel how I feel, and I express it. And my mom always said that about me. She said even when I was a little kid, whatever emotion I felt it to the max. And yeah, it's to my detriment a bit. And some people aren't like that. Some people do take longer. So they will see the signs, and they won't already be in love when they see the signs, right? They won't already have those emotions wrapped up in this person when they see these red flags. So it will be easier for them to be like, hell no, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So different people, right? There's different people, different situations. But for me, the most important reason is that people who are like this, you know, that are emotionally, verbally, mentally, physically, whatever, abusive in relationships, they're masters at what they do. And they might not even be fully aware that they're doing it. It's not necessarily like they have a master plan, you know, written out of how to be emotionally and mentally abusive to your partner. Like that's not necessarily the case. But subconsciously, they have learned how to charm. They have learned how to get the emotional response that they want for whatever reason that they want it. Their own emotional trauma that is unchecked, untreated, uneven like recognized. You know, whatever went on in their past, sometimes mental health issues going on that are unchecked, unrecognized, untreated. But yeah, they know how to charm. My ex charmed everyone he met. Everybody loved him. My friends loved him. My family loved him. His friends always were like, you're so lucky that you're with him. I'm like, I'm fucking cool too, guys. Thanks. I remember we went to my best friend's wedding back in Michigan, and her in-laws, the whole weekend, they were obsessed with him. I'm not even kidding. They loved him. And I just kept hearing again about how lucky I was to have him and to be in a relationship with him, not knowing that literally like the night before, while we were in the hotel room, another fucking stupid fight came up and we almost broke up. And yeah. And I mean, this kind of abuse is not something that typically just manifests overnight. It's not like you just wake up one day and now this person is being abusive all of a sudden. It takes time, and I mean, it varies depending on the relationship, of course, and the person. But yeah, it happens slowly. And it's just like before you know it, you're sitting there going, how the fuck did we get here? How did this happen? This is so toxic now. This is so emotionally, mentally draining. I am exhausted. How did this happen? I was so in love with you. You were so in love with me. And sometimes we still are, and that's another thing. It's not like the last probably 6 months, like I said, I did feel that kind of dread a lot of the time. If he was around, his presence just made me anxious and feel that dread. But before that, there would be weeks, sometimes months that went by without any real incident that weren't necessarily just perfect and puppies and rainbows all the time, but they were like fine. They were just normal relationship, and maybe we're not happy every single day, but like we're fine, we're cool, we're not having big fights. And then we'd have like a big huge fight or a big huge incident, and then it just slowly the cycle started being more frequent, as I said. And then towards the end it was weekly. It was a weekly thing. Could go maybe 4 days without a fight, 4 days without an incident, 4 days without a breakup or threatening to break up or getting in my face or calling me a whore or whatever. And you just feel stupid. You really do. You really feel dumb. And I think it's because, like I said, I pride myself on being a strong person. And it's like, how did you get into this, Joshana? How? What the fuck? Like you got yourself into a situation like this? You idiot. And like I said, though, it wasn't that I didn't see the red flags. I saw them and I called them out and we fought about them. I just would get convinced that they weren't that serious and that if I really loved him, we could work through it. He would show me this intense deep, you know, complex connection and love and devotion. And then, like I said, 2 days later, back to normal. I'm a lying whore who's trying to make him feel crazy. So yeah, I appreciated this book. I think being YA, I liked the authorial voice. I thought she did a very good job with, especially in the beginning. I think probably a lot of people would read this and be thinking, oh my God, she's so annoying, this stupid teenage girl. But I felt as though it was pretty accurate, like a pretty accurate representation of how, 16-year-old would be. Especially this type of 16-year-old who's dealing with all this shit at home, doesn't think she's all that great, doesn't think she's all that pretty, and then like the Gavin Davis, like this, oh my God, this guy that's so amazing that she has this big crush on, starts talking to her and giving her attention. She's head over heels, you know. And I really appreciate that it exists. And I think a lot of teenagers, all teenagers should read stuff like this and hear these stories and learn more about it and the signs, and learn that you don't have to have a bruise on your face or bruises on your arms or to be bleeding from someone for it to be abuse. It is definitely abuse, and one type isn't worse or better than the other. Honestly, I don't think so. If physical abuse isn't happening at all, then you're safer, obviously, like physically safer. But with mental and emotional abuse, mentally you're not fucking safe, and emotionally you're not safe, and a lot of times the threat of physical abuse is there, and a lot of times it turns into that on some level. I would love to read a book similar to this with this type of story, but from the perspective of an adult and in a longer relationship. So if anybody knows of any, I said this in my recent wrap-up, especially my romance friends who watch sometimes, if you know of any, let me know. Stories like this where it's someone getting into a relationship like this, kind of delving into the nuances and complexities of emotional and mental abuse, and then the getting out of it. I Googled and all I saw was a bunch of young adult ones, which I think is good. Like I said, teens need to read these stories and understand that this is a very real thing, and it can happen easier than you fucking think. You can be a strong-willed, feisty-ass, independent-ass, love yourself, believe in your own self-worth type of person, and still get into a bad relationship, a bad romance. On my 1 to 10, I gave this an 8.16, which translates to 4 pushinicorns. I think I would have rated it slightly higher if, I feel like if their relationship had been longer, then I think on a personal level, it would have resonated a bit more. But yeah, very well written and very spot on. Oh, that was fun. Talking about super fun trauma, and the sun is going away. And yeah, I have been out of my abusive relationship for like 2.5 years now, so all is well, don't worry. I'm good now, I promise. Let me know down below if you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, questions, I don't know. And definitely if you've read this book, let me know what your thoughts were. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.